My brother-in-law called me selfish just because I bought my wife one small gift after she carried me for 6 months, and honestly, that says more about him than it ever will about me because 6 months ago, I lost my job in a mass layoff, and just like that, I was out with no warning and no backup plan, and I was sitting at home every day applying for jobs while my wife quietly stepped up and started working extra shifts at the clinic, pulling 50-hour weeks and still coming home exhausted but asking me if I was okay. And she never once made me feel like I failed, and she never complained when we had to cancel plans, skip trips, and start counting every dollar. Well, I kept wondering if I was still enough, and she never let me feel like I wasn't. And that kind of loyalty stays with you. So when I finally got hired again, I made a promise to myself that I would do something meaningful for her. Not something flashy, just something that showed her I saw everything she did when life got hard. So I saved up and bought her a simple gold pendant, something elegant, something she could wear every day. And when I gave it to her, she didn't even open it right away. She just looked at me, and when she finally did, she broke down crying and hugged me like it meant everything. And from that day, she wore it everywhere because to her, it wasn't just jewelry. It was a reminder that she was seen fast forward to a small family barbecue, and everything felt normal until her cousin's husband noticed the pendant and asked about it. And she told the story in her calm way, not bragging, just sharing, and everyone smiled and said it was sweet. And even he acted like it was no big deal. But later that night, he sent me a message saying I was inconsiderate and that bringing something like that around people who are struggling was selfish, and that I made him look bad in front of his wife. And I just stared at my phone, trying to understand how loving my wife turned into offending someone else. And when I showed her, she went quiet. And then she called him, and I listened as he kept saying we were showing off. And then he crossed the line and said she was becoming materialistic and shallow. And I watched my wife, who carried us through the hardest months of our lives, sit there in silence with tears in her eyes. And then she finally spoke, and her voice was steady. And she said if being appreciated after the hardest year of her life makes her selfish, then she is okay with that. And she hung up. And in that moment, I realized this was never about money. It was about insecurity. And I am not responsible for how someone feels about my love for my wife. So yeah, maybe I made it worse because a week later, I bought her a matching ring, not to prove anything to him, but because I refuse to let someone else's insecurity decide how I show love. And if that makes someone uncomfortable, then that is not my problem. That is theirs. Because I did not embarrass him. His own insecurity did.